3, 2, 1, here we go. Yeah, when I don't have an intro song, that means that I'm behind with content. I'm behind with my editor. They're working on other stuff right now and don't have time for this meager podcast. This is no meager podcast. This is definitely one of the top performing Amazon podcasts for Amazon sellers. We got there because of you guys. You guys listened to it. We got there because we get really nerdy here. This is a really great episode. I know you're going to like it because it's actually a lot of ideas jammed into one. A lot of ideas. We do some of these interviews, podcasts where I get a chance to meet with some experts. And sometimes we just talk about one or two things, but we really dive in deep. This is going to be a little bit more broad, a lot of ideas of where Amazon is moving, some of the news items and how they can affect you. So, I am not going to have a chance to edit anything, so we're going on the fly here. We better get it right the first time. Okay. So this stuff is all in the newsletter. I'll tell you more about the newsletter later, but I write a weekly or semi-weekly, sometimes bi-weekly, where every other week. Just depends how busy I am if I'm traveling. Newsletter. I like it because it gets my chance to react to the news that I think is interesting. There's a lot of news out there, and I don't think not all of it moves the needle. Or some of the commentary, I just think it's people trying to sound smart and not try and sift through what actually, things that you should be knowing as a professional. Okay, I think the biggest news item of the year happened. At least the biggest change of how Amazon is responding to sellers, particularly those that are trying to grow a brand on Amazon. Everyone for years and years and years, I've always just heard that they're not your customer. They're not your customer. They're Amazon's customers. And you haven't been able to reach your customers in any meaningful way. We have the seller messaging, but it's not great. And it's not a great marketing opportunity. So last week, Amazon announced that they are going to launch a new tool that helps sellers to reach their customers. There's 4, they're calling it tailored audiences. And if you have brand registry, whether it's a brand that you're representing or it's a brand that you own, you can reach out to your customers. I really like how they did this, at least in keeping in line with what would make the platform really good. Once a week, you get to choose up to 4 different buckets of customers that you can send a message to. There's still a lot of questions. We don't know if there's a lot of creative control here, if you have to get things approved, what sort of marketing things you can do. Can you send out discounts and new promotions? Do you have control on the copy, on the subject line to increase, to have a good conversion rate and click-through rate? Or are they going to bundle this with all the other messages that a brand is going to do? I don't know. You don't want it to feel spammy, or people are just going to opt out all the time. So it's to be determined how good this is, but here's the buckets of customers. And remember, you can only select one a week to send a message to. Your repeat customers. This is customers that have ordered more than once in the last 12 months. Your highest spending customers. They're going to give you the top 25% of your highest spending customers, or your most recent customers. Again, the most recent 20% of customers who have purchased from your brand, or the brand followers. That's probably the least valuable of all of these. But, I could see a lot of, right now, my gut reaction is I definitely will use recent customers. You get people while it's fresh on their mind. I can think of repeat customers. I mean, if you're in grocery, this is the holy grail right here. They kind of finally let you say you were to message every single one that's in your subscribe and save, and you could send them one thing. You've never been able to do that before until now. So that one lift alone, for some people, I think is going to make a huge difference. And especially when you're launching a second product or like maybe a more economic tier where it's bigger and there's more value and it's a lower price per ounce, something like that. I love it. This is big. This is a big deal. Hopefully they get it right, and it's what I've seen so far. It looks like they're doing it right. They're tackling their biggest weakness as a go-to direct-to-consumer launch platform. All right. So there's plenty of things that happen every single week. And Amazon is just a huge company. We're talking about a $2 trillion company. What? So California files an antitrust lawsuit against Amazon. Do Amazon's policies hurt end consumers? California says yes. And they are pointing at the increasing fees that Amazon keeps pushing. They've done actually 3 in 1 year, 2022, to catch up with inflation. They've done 3 fee increases this year. And then they have some pricing parity that they will remove the buy box if they find your product on another platform for less. So that seems to be what California is pushing in this lawsuit. I think there is a little bit of leverage here. I think they can make a very compelling case. And if California, this is a big deal. This could be very big because at the very least, even if California doesn't win out, Amazon's going to be paying attention, and their policies will reflect that. Speaking of, there's so many news items. Just like as I was speaking this, there's more, but I'm not going to go into other things. There's a lot of acquisitions. They're still happening. People are predicting a slight decline in the market because of rising interest rates. I don't know how that's going to impact the consumer market. Consumer market is kind of like what we depend on, and actually a specific part of that, the e-commerce consumer market. If there's a recession, will people buy less or more online? I think if you are in the daily consumables, I don't think it's going to impact you too much. If you are a high-end electronics, actually that's going to hit you a little bit more. But the reason I mentioned the market is because, acquisitions, sometimes the prices on them do reflect the new, market rates. The stock market hasn't done as well. So, acquisitions, their value's gone down, but not entirely. Not if you've got something really good. I'm just going to rattle off a few things. Amazon bought a robotics company. This is probably close to their Kiva acquisition, which they're trying to put robots in FCs. I think that's a good move. I think it builds their competitive moat in distribution. No one can touch FBA. No one can touch the optimization of those warehouses. They're years ahead. Change my mind. If you have a different perspective, email me at scott@smartscout.com. I think Amazon's FBA fulfillment centers are just years and years and years ahead of anyone else. Someone better be willing to lose $30 billion in order to catch up. And it doesn't look like they're doing that quite. Yeah, they're building out 3PL type stuff and some applications here or there, but that's not enough to send out, what was it, just millions of products every Prime Day, just to do Prime Day. No one else can touch them. End of story. So they got another robotics company. Amazon's also acquired or acquiring Roomba. This one has a little bit more backlash, against antitrust because Roomba has a lot of data in people's homes, and people just, at this point, it's political. People want to get a win against a big tech company. So everything Amazon does is, under scrutiny. Other acquisitions: Profitero, a software service, exits for $200 million. Channel Advisor, a omni-channel service provider, they sell for $700 million. Shoot, I'd love to get someone to tell me more about how Channel Advisor actually works. 7-8 years ago, they were marketing to Amazon sellers. I think they do more just general D2C brands, because to get a $600-700 million acquisition, they were definitely doing something right. It was bought by their competitor, so there is now a huge person in the space that's doing omni-channel commerce hub. That's who bought it. I never heard of them. This is a huge world to think that there's these companies that that are marketing similar to like where I live, and I just never hear about them. I always love hearing how big the ecosystem is. So stuff like this, awesome. Hero Cosmetics, an Amazon seller, gets a huge exit, $630 million. Man, I'd love to do a feature on them. They got a 14x multiple on EBITDA. They were doing a $45 million a year. Was this overpaid for? At 14 times multiple, that's huge. But I would say that depends on how much of that revenue is on Amazon and how closely they are tied with their customers. This kind of ties back to the opening of the podcast episode. That do they know their consumers, and can they upmarket and upsell them with more products? Because if that's just an Amazon profit, I would say they're a little bit more disruptible, and I don't think they should deserve a 14x multiple. But I don't know their off Amazon sales, which would be a key part if they have multiple channels humming. Peloton, one of the best brands, at least 2 years ago, is like one of the most premium brands that kind of have their own, vertical integration from bike to subscription. They begin selling on Amazon. This is kind of a surprise to see someone like this, huge price point, selling on Amazon. I think it's a good move. Because Peloton's value is subscription revenue. And when you put it from that lens, like you do this all day, every day. You can, your reach is more. You're going to compete against the other treadmill companies, because if you're not on Amazon, then, you're making fewer impressions. Maybe this hurts your margins, and maybe it's a less profitable channel, but it grows your piece of the pie. And if your real pie is actually the subscription revenue, I think it was a good move. But it is a sign of, I think, a change in Peloton. My wife loves Peloton, so that's why I kind of pay attention to them. They've struggled, but we're seeing a few. We actually have a client with Buy Boxer Services where they are going to also, have it's a wireless phone and watch, and they want subscription revenue as well because, it uses cell services. So, again, this ties back to that. That's why I think the first part is such a big news item, is because if Amazon can be more than just a channel and a marketplace, but also a customer acquisition, that where you can start to model out lifetime value. I'm actually building out lifetime value in Smart Scout. I just think it's interesting, and I want to see it. You'd be surprised. So some of your products that have repeat purchases, and some of them that don't. So that's why I went into those things. So these are all things that I talk about on the newsletter. If you just want in on the newsletter, just email me at scott@smartscout.com. I know there's a few hooks on our website that can get you in the newsletter. I mean, if you check out our map, it's going to ask you for your email eventually. But I really just want the newsletter to be interesting. I don't care for like numbers. I think it's a lot of fun. I actually learn about things. So if you liked this episode, let me know. I always love getting feedback. I want to pack a lot of value in a short amount of time. And I like to tell people what I'm doing because I really get good feedback. A lot of smart people are listening, and it's been a very valuable, conversation. More what I'm working on is, and if you want to see this part, we're working on some short form video, like TikTok and Reels. And I'm going to tell you why it's interesting. I think most Amazon content is kind of dry. It's kind of boring. If there's 100 service providers out there, all of them are trying to get your attention. Are they telling good stories? Are they telling you things that kind of help you see the channel a little bit differently? Well, we are going to be creating little videos featuring unique entrepreneur stories. Specifically, who's the biggest seller in every state? That's kind of Smart Scout has that data. We know. And there's some surprising answers. Did you know that Best Buy is actually a huge Amazon seller? I could probably do a full episode on why that is. And but the big sellers, they do have interesting stories, and actually it is inspiring to see that most of them started just within the last 8 years. A ton of them are new. And we're just going to create 30-second, 45-second, and we're going to create a ton of these stories. And here's why I like it. Is this actually enters general entrepreneurship content, not just like Amazon stuff. We kind of get in our own loop, our own circle. And I want a chance to highlight to the world, we're going to be broadcasting this, not just to Amazon sellers, but to the world, good entrepreneur stories about what Amazon sellers are doing. And so you can follow my Instagram at Smartest Seller if you want to see that. If you don't ever want to touch Instagram, just email me. I'll send you a few. We've already made a few that are really interesting. If you want to see the largest seller in Alaska, it's kind of cool. Okay. Well, that's all I've got for today. And I like these episodes, a chance to cover a lot of stuff. I kind of have ADD with content. I like to get through, get value fast. So if it's just me, I'm going to try and give you perspectives and insights fast. So with that said, I will let you move on to the next thing of your day. And I really do hope that you are successful in your business, and I hope that you got a lot out from this. And I will talk to you next week. All right, take care.